Hello, it's Scott Manley here, and today we are going to look at Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. Now, it's still in beta, this is not going to be the final version, but I did really want to look at it because I'm a fan of the reimagined Battlestar Galactica. So let's get started.
After Virgon buried their nukes, the leaders of the 12 colonies promised we would never see war of that scale again. Peace would reign in our lifetime, and the lifetimes of our children.
Or so they thought.
They could not have predicted the Cylon Rebellion less than 30 years later. The worst conflict in colonial history, and we are at a stalemate. No foothold gained that isn't lost again within weeks.
So by now you've figured out that this is happening during the first Cylon War, which set 40 years before the TV show.
The Jupiter Project was supposed to be our ace in the hole, the largest, most powerful Battlestars ever created. Each of the 12 colonies were promised one, in return for signing the Articles of Colonization.
I gotta say, that one looks quite familiar. That is basically the design of Galactica from the TV show, which, as you remember, is a museum piece by the time the TV show starts. But of course, in this game, it is going to be bleeding-edge technology, but using 1960s era phones.
The first, Galactica, was Caprica's crowning glory. It went missing 2 weeks after deployment.
Which presumably means it turns up later in the game.
Athena, the 5th ship to be completed, belongs to Pycon. We were days away from delivering it when we heard the news.
And judging by the epic music, you can probably guess by now that it wasn't good news. That is not the kind of music you play when you find out your kid gets into a good school.
Pycon's capital cities were devastated by Cylon assault fleets. Among them, our own colonial fleet headquarters. There was no chance to intervene.
Actually, the good news is that the old-style base stars from the 1970s TV show, those are back on the map.
Command of Colonial Fleet has fallen to Rear Admiral Kane. Our mobile shipyard, Daedalus, has become the ad hoc fleet headquarters. As Kane's XO aboard Daedalus, you have been promoted to Operations Commander of the entire Colonial Fleet. Kane intends immediate retaliation for the attack on Pycon. The war room awaits your arrival, Commander.
So yeah, you are the executive officer of what amounts to a construction facility which just happens to have, jump capability. So it's a bit like a mothership.
Pycon's Battlestar is almost ready to deliver, but Sinan says it can't make an independent jump until the fuel lines have stabilized. Kane's orders are to jump Daedalus to Pycon with the Battlestar Athena attached ASAP. That means we have to clear the scouts here or risk telegraphing our movements to the entire Cylon fleet. I'll prep the deck crews for the jump while you deal with the toasters. Good hunting, Commander.
So the early game is full of tutorials which are annoyingly hard to turn off, but I'm actually skipping forward to the second mission so that we can see basically all the game mechanics in play. In this mission we're delivering a Jupiter-class Battlestar which basically has all the offensive and defensive capabilities we see in the game. Now, before every round, obviously, you get your deployment screen where you get to place your assets on the map. This thing is the Daedalus Shipyard. As I said, it will jump from one place to another. It can't move when it's in the map. It can only jump in and out and carry your space fleets and everything with it. It will also build the new spacecraft. But the main warships in this mission will be a pair of Manticore support ships.
Prepare to jump in 3, 2, 1.
Make it so! Oh no, wait, that's a different show, isn't it?
Jump complete. Daedalus contacts bearing 017, Karam 021.
Pycon and the rest of the 12 colonies are watching our every move, Commander. Some would see Colonial Fleet fail. Ensure we succeed.
No pressure, sir. No pressure at all.
So you'll notice those two characters, Lucinda Kane and Helena Agathon, they both share surnames with pretty prominent characters in the TV show. I'll leave it up to your imagination as to whether they actually are ancestors. And we get to the game mechanics themselves, and if you've played Starhammer, the Vanguard, Prophecy or whatever, you will know exactly what is going on here. It's by the same developer, BlackLabs. And what you do is you kind of set your maneuvers in the game. You have a bunch of things you can tweak. You can tweak your power allocation towards offense, defense, or boost your engines. You have a bunch of other ship-specific orders, but pretty much you drag your ships to where you're going to be in the next few seconds, click End Turn, and then the mission plays out for a few seconds. You see you have a little bar at the bottom that is slowly burning down. So we are heading towards this Daedalus contact here. This is my Battlestar. This is the Athena, which is going to be delivered to PyCon. The Athena is vastly more powerful than these other Manticore class ships. However, these Manticore ships are pretty fast and agile and can turn on a dime. However, I think I've got boost enabled, and that will put me close to the target. So I think I actually will disable it, because enabling boost takes about 60% of your weapon and defense power away. So I'm going to move close into combat range. I would prefer my weapons to be firing at full power. Now, beyond movement, you can also specify special orders for various ships. So the Athena here, the Athena has the ability to launch squadrons. It carries 2 squadrons of Mark I Vipers. Also, the Daedalus carries a pair of squadrons, so I launch all those. Now, you can't command them during this turn, but next turn you'll be able to give them actual commands. There we go, we're closing in on this target here. It is a, what do you call it? It's a Nemesis class. It is, no!
Manticore is taking damage.
I've already crashed into the target. I tell you, I lose more ships to crashing them into other ships. Yeah, it's dead. It's dead. I lose more ships to crashing them into other ships than I do to enemy fire. So, yeah, I'm just going to have to do a U-turn now. So this Lancer is pretty agile. You notice, by the way, that after the initial turn, you then get an option to adjust the height and the final facing. So, yeah, you can do all that. This thing also has missiles, but nobody is visible right now. You can't fire. I could fire them at the Cylon Raiders, but I would be better launching my fighter squadrons against them. I mean, these are already deployed, so click on them, select the target, War Driver Squadron. War driving, yes, that's appropriate. Totally missing DEF CON this weekend. For those of you that don't know hacker terminology, war driving is basically driving around with Wi-Fi scanning and looking for vulnerable networks. It's of course the wireless version of war dialing, which of course in the days when you actually had to dial phone numbers to get onto networks, you would dial lots of phone numbers and try to find modems and things that would accept your connection and let you log into the system and hack nuclear weapons. And really, it's an old thing you don't do anymore. Anyway, it looks like we have some incoming missiles, so I will show you another feature that this Battlestar has. So let's just try and orient it correctly. Let's do that. So the missiles are coming in from the left side, and if you press space, you can bring up the menu, and there is, oh, that's not it, flak. So you can basically launch a bunch of flak. It will tear your fighters up, so make sure your fighters aren't anywhere nearby. Yeah, we're gonna send our other spacecraft towards that unidentified Daedalus. There's my flak firing, and watch those missiles. They will just get stopped in their tracks. Ha! That's what they thought. No missiles survived my volley, my wall of flak. Okay, looks like we have another Cylon Carrier. I say carrier, this is very, very small right now. The ships you start up against are pretty dinky and rubbish and will be taken down very easily. So yeah, I'm just sending all my fighters to add some extra firepower. They're good. They can shoot down missiles, they can shoot down fighters, or they can just lay damage on whatever target there is. Now, I also have another ability in the Battlestar. They fired missiles at me. Well, I will have the ability to fire missiles at them, but I'm going to turn this spacecraft that way because I don't want to collide with things. I probably should also point out, while we're here, the turrets. So every ship has different firing arcs. Different firing arcs have different ranges. You get the idea. This is critical. There are some ships that only have side arcs, some that only have forward arcs. And when you're trying to kill something, you better make sure it's in the right place. I made that mistake. But yeah, we're just going to fire some missiles.
Missiles on their way.
I mean, that of course is one of the more, memorable things from the Battlestar, battles. They would have the fighters, obviously, but you would have the missiles shooting back and forth and the flak. That was it looked awesome. I always thought the battles in Battlestar Galactica looked really good. Yeah, I'm going to launch some missiles out of this as well. So everybody is going to get their missiles in flight. There are many different kinds of missile in the game. There's torpedoes and long range and short range and all that, but that doesn't matter because this thing is dead. So I'm just going to cut to the end of the battle, but suffice to say I won. And after every battle, of course, you get some statistics and you have a chance to catch up with the overarching story.
Daedalus is cold. All hostile contacts are cleared.
If you're finished playing with Pycon's toy, I believe it's time to hand Athena over to their defense ministry.
They've already been notified, Sinan. Commander, there's something else. We're having some difficulty with Daedalus's navigation computers. It'll be easier to explain from the war room.
Now, on top of the statistics, we have a nice battle replay, so you can just click this on autocam and it'll fly around and track everything, and it's actually probably the best way to watch some of these battles. They can be pretty pointy and clicky. You spend a lot of time clicking and dragging stuff around, and obviously the whole thing is modelling a real-time kind of event. Yeah, this was me making that critical navigation error. At least I didn't crash one of my ships into another of my own ships. I've done that far too many times. Yeah, there's my big Battlestar. That is a Jupiter class. Oh boy, look at that with the retractable crew sort of launch base and everything there. Yeah, turrets on the front. You can see that firing. Yeah, I mean, the ship designs, I'm not sure how many are actually canon, how many come from the TV show. Certainly on the Cylon side, we haven't seen many of these ships, but of course, they are all from, the original Cylon Wars. Yeah, this is a pretty large ship. That's not a raider. The raiders are tiny. Sometimes we get pilot's eye view, or rather, whoever's sitting in the sidecar. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Vipers don't come with sidecars, but that would give you an amazing way to watch the battle. So yeah, I mean, it is Battlestar, space strategy game. It's small battles plus an overarching map. Thematically, it's pretty good on all these points, but it isn't in the same era as a TV show. You're not going to be escorting lots of civilian ships through deep space. You are, of course, going to be managing the war. Now, as you get on, as you travel through the game, you're going to get things like upgrades that let you unlock better spacecraft, better battle stars. For example, the Viper Mark II. It basically sheds the older model's reliance on armor plating and replaces it with reflexes. Basically makes it faster. It hits harder. And it's once you buy it, it's pretty much free to swap them out on every single mission. There's the Artemis Carrier, and then we have the Ranger Cruiser. That would be nice to get, but yeah, don't have the points yet. Daedalus is also able to build ships, and you'll have, of course, your traditional build queue over here, with the option of spending extra cash to rush delivery in a single turn. Cash is in the form of Tilium, which, if you remember, was the fuel needed to fuel the jump drives. And indeed, there's times where you might have to spend Tilium to jump earlier. You will also manage your officers. Your officers can lead fleets, and as they get experience, you promote them, they get new skills. You can actually run multiple fleets, but story missions can only be performed by fleets that have officers leading them. Again, this surname is shared by another character in the show. I believe there's a character in Caprica called Barnabas Greeley. Although I'm not sure there is any relation in this case, but maybe there is. I mean, you're left to guess about the relations between a number of characters. I know that in the TV show, the Admiral Kane, her parents, she tells us that their parents are killed in the Cylon War. So I don't think that Admiral Lucinda Kane is related. Anyway, back to the big map. You also have to worry about the 12 colonies. You have to keep them happy. So it's a bit like XCOM. You have to kind of deliver aid, have your ships, protecting them, taking down the Cylon fleets. And then on the big map, yeah, you move around and there's various things. So this is Tauron, which has a Cylon fleet in orbit around it right now. This Cylon fleet, however, is way too badass for my little fleet that's sitting there. Yeah, 3,750. That fleet I've got left there is like 1,000 points. So yeah, let's move forward. Chapter 6, Chemical Warfare. That's over in Helios Delta.
Sir?
What is it?
Data on the attack is still incoming, but emergency services are estimating casualties in the hundreds.
That's actually pretty small.
Reports confirm most are non-fatal, which seems worse, somehow.
Okay, I'm just skipping ahead to show you this. There is one character that I've absolutely seen in the TV show that is in the game.
Multiple Dratus contacts bearing 014, Karam 002.
I presume this won't inconvenience your big warships too much?
Yes, it's
Don't
Dr.
worry,
Cottle.
We'll get you over into Aerolon airspace as soon as your FTL drives are recharged.
That's not what concerns me.
What concerns me is that 40 years before the Battlestar TV show, Sherman Cottle is still sounding like a crotchety old man. Look, I'm not going to play through the story, you know, that's the main reason to buy the game. If you're wanting to play a war game with spaceships, with Battlestar Galactica, this is the game. Now, there is also a skirmish mode where you can set up fleets on either side and then fly your ships against them. I just set up this one to more or less show something of everything. So this is more or less one of all my ships against lots of their ships, including a base star. We get to see the Cylons deployed. By your command. Anyway, while I watch my fleet more or less get murderized by the Cylons and their implacable logic, yeah, let's talk about the game. So it's I don't know if the beta's coming out soon, but this is private beta right now. I hear that there's a lot of balancing still to do, you know, and the developer pretty much only makes this kind of game, and the publisher is pretty much always about hardcore strategy games. They're definitely a niche publisher. It's not the only Battlestar Galactica game either, and you know, to be clear, there are actually a couple of mods, unofficial mods obviously because it's a licensed property, but there's a mod that lets you do this in Homeworld and a mod for Empire at War. Those are getting pretty old and long in the tooth right now. So you know, this is a pretty good implementation of small skirmish style fleet combat. I really quite like it. That being said, the best thing about Battlestar Galactica was always those human interactions. The, oh, are you really a Cylon thing? And if you want that kind of experience, this game isn't going to give it to you. Of course, if you want that kind of experience about trying to figure out which of your friends you can really trust, I highly recommend the Battlestar Galactica board game. Best played with lots of friends and some beer. If you just want to fly a Viper in the middle of fleet combat, then, well, I cannot recommend Diaspora Shattered Armistice enough. It is a free space mod, again, totally unlicensed, unofficial, but it is so much fun and it sounds great. There is Battlestar Galactica Online, which is just mediocrity in MMO form. But if you want to be Admiral of a small fleet of Battlestars killing Cylons, this is a pretty good option. So I guess by default that makes it the best official Battlestar Galactica video game out there. But just be aware that you aren't going to be playing out the events of the TV show. This is going to be, you know, from an era which is talked about in the show but never actually shown on screen. It's not going to be for everyone, but I'll confirm that if I hadn't been given a copy, I would have bought one myself. So that's a recommendation. And so say we all. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.